Oh, hello, Banger TV pals. Blaine Smith joining you along with the rest of the Banger gang digitally to bring you our picks for Album of the Year. Woo, yay! But before we get to that, we have to do like a Banger TV end of year Banger TV wrapped Banger TV 2023 in retrospective. It was a big year for us. We hit our 1,000th video uploaded. We just uploaded an episode of Sam's podcast with Billy Gould of Faith No More.
A lot of people stopped paying attention after that big song you put out on that one record. And I was like, wait a second, these records are good. Come on, folks. This band's got a lot of gas in the tank.
Faith No More, yeah, we were that one-hit wonder band. VH1 calls us this one-hit wonder band. Whatever. I'd never like to encourage that kind of thinking. I think that everything in life is much more complex. Just like politics, things are much more complex. Don't go with the prevailing easy soundbite on anything. And I don't want to approach music that way either. It's just too cheap and easy.
So go check that out, as well as subscribe to the Patreon so you get all of Sam's podcast episodes as soon as they come out. We got more coming in 2024 for you. This was also the year we filmed season 2 of Heavy Metal Hitchhiker, our scripted comedy series. We uploaded 31 episodes of Metalheads, our metal trivia series, and we crowned our first champion. Congratulations, Walking Deadpan.
Kids, this is what happens when you min-max your stats.
So if it's Christmas, you're stuck at some in-laws' house and they're still asking you, hey, are you still doing that metal thing? You know, we got lots of content if you didn't catch it when it first came around for you to take a breather, reset, watch something, and then have to dive back into those awkward conversations. Ooh. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Speaking of awkward conversations, this is the part of the video where you go, don't you normally do this with Sam Dunn? Yes, I do. Where is Sam Dunn? Lord knows he's been a busy man in 2023. We shot 4 episodes of the Geddy Lee series, Our Bass Player's Human 2, that's up on Paramount Plus now. We're really proud of that. It's kind of classic banger content. It's exactly the stuff we want to make. And on top of that, he's shooting another TV series that we can't talk about right now, as well as 2 more feature music docs that I can't talk about, which doesn't give you a lot of information. I will say one of the docs might be Sam, unfortunately, as we said, has been very busy lately, so he wasn't able to record his album of the year. So pretend this is me as Sam. I'll try and do a Sam impression. Howdy there, Banger TV viewers. Sam Dunn here, and I am here with my album pick of the year. It is a record I can't believe I missed, but I'm listening to a lot lately. It's As in Hell, Impy Horror. So that's Sam, and then we'll throw to Sam.
Good job, As in Hell, for putting this record together. I tell you, I don't know, spoiler alert, might be my album of the year. We got 2 months to go, but hey, I'm just gonna give it 5 big fucking skulls out of 5.
So that's kind of just the present and the future for you. We're really excited. We're having a lot of fun over here, and we've got a lot of great content for you. So without further ado, let's just take it away with Album of the Year picks.
What's going on? Daniel Dekay here for my end of year list. Same deal from me as last year. No EPs. Sorry, Dead Heat and Ankle Biter, maybe next year. And also, I really hate picking just one, so I picked 15 again. Deal with it. Listen to all of them. But as a technicality, my number one, Final Gasp, Morning Moon. Easily one of the coolest sounding records I heard all year. It pulls from hardcore metal and goth rock. It's got riffing that's equally as doomy and dark as it is D-beat and also metallic. You pair that with a baritone Danzig-esque vocal, and I think I found my favorite Arthur Risk album of the year. It's complete with his signature and instantly recognizable synth parts and atmosphere setting transitions. It's also the first full length from this Boston-based band, so hopefully lots more to come. Now on to the rest. Listen to all these records. Savage, Glory Riders, It's Wasp Warship from Germany, Nuff Said, Bloodstar, First Sighting, Cosmic Classic Heavy Metal out of Salt Lake City with tons of hooks, Tanith Voyage, Neo 70s hard rock and adventure metal. I love everything about this band that features Russ Tippins. Give it a spin. We've got Knife, Heaven into Dust, black and speed metal from Germany with plenty of punk rock influence. Drain, Living Proof, you saw my review. It's all my favorite things about thrash, hardcore, and dimebag riffing all in one. Enforced, War Remains. Again, you saw my review. You know I love it. This is some of the best in crossover happening right now. Cruelty, Untopia. It is hardcore death metal with doses of doom straight out of Tokyo. Highly recommend. Fuming Mouth, Out of Time. It's crusty HM2 death metal worship. It's depressive, it's dark, and it's got a cool ass storyline to follow. Necrofire, Burning Shadows in the Southern Night, Texas melodic black metal with insane fucking drums, some of the best of its kind right now. Crypta, Shades of Sorrow, vicious Brazilian death metal with crystal clear production and super melodic guitar solos. Ex Mortis, Necrophony, California's neoclassical kings. If thrash and death metal and everything tech is for you, then this is your record. Gamma Bomb Bats, classic thrash out of Ireland. These guys simply do not miss. Cloak, Black Flame, Eternal. This Atlanta band truly has their very own sound on this record. Whether they're doing Euro black metal parts, goth rock, atmospheric shit, or straight heavy metal, it always sounds distinctly Cloak. And Hellripper, Warlocks Grim, and Withered Hags. Save the best for last? Probably. If you're into Venom, Midnight, Toxic Holocaust, and Motorhead, and we haven't already shoved this record down your throat, stop what you're doing right now and listen to it. There's my list. Hopefully I did it in time. Enjoy. We'll catch you soon.
Hello everyone, Dylan Gowan here. It's that time of year again when I make my pick for Album of the Year. It has been a pretty good year overall for progressive metal with a few big releases and a ton of great hidden gems throughout the year. But before I get into my pick for Album of the Year, I wanted to really talk about a few honorable mentions. First up, I have to mention The Fox and the Bird by OK Goodnight. It was on continuous repeat this year. Very immersive storytelling with clever genre-bending songwriting, and they delivered a really unique entry into the subgenre. This is a band to really keep an eye on because they're all just fantastic musicians and songwriters, so definitely check out that record if you haven't already. Next up, I'd love to talk about War of Being by Tesseract. It was another great release by the band, and it just showcases the just all of their strongest aspects of their songwriting, and the band just continues to impress with every release. So there's a more detailed review of War of Being, so if you haven't checked out that review already, so go check it out on the channel if you wanted to really dive into that album because it's just a fantastic record. Laddermath was another great recent discovery that I found this year. They're kind of like a mix between Leprous, Devin Townsend, and Caligula's Horse. Great up-and-coming band that really deserves a lot of attention. Periphery with Gent is Not a Genre. That album was just very intense. It had a ton of great grooves, clever songwriting, and when you combine all of that together, you create a very strong release that I would argue is on par with P2. Finally, I'd love to mention Shayan Javadi, a guitarist virtuoso who's on the same level as Pliny, Intervals, Angel Vivaldi, Animals as Leaders, Stefan Taranto. This is a guy who I wouldn't be surprised being on big progressive metal tours in the future. So if you're a fan of the more kind of instrumental side of the subgenre, then definitely check out Shayan Javadi. There are many more albums I would love to mention, but we'd be here all day, so my album of the year pick is Sky Void of Stars by Catatonia. This album, in line with many of Catatonia's releases, takes you on a poignant and cathartic journey. However, this time around, the presentation differs from the band's previous albums as it fearlessly embraces a more progressive metal approach to their songwriting. You still get the familiar sound of Catatonia that draws heavy influences of doom, goth, and post-metal, but it's much more experimental this time around. The songs are more musically adventurous when it comes to the song structure and how they jump between all the different subgenres they've incorporated throughout their career. The combination of all these different elements together makes this a really unique album amongst the band's discography. From the chaotic and rhythmically diverse tracks like Atrium and Austerity to the more somber and melancholic tracks like No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall and Author, and the driving and explosive nature of songs like Birds and Colossal Shade. There are many layers and tons to unpack with this album. Each song really stands out by its own merits while sounding like a Catatonia record. Catatonia's willingness to continuously evolve their sound contributes to the band's longevity, and while constant reinvention can be a risky move, Catatonia just manages to push the boundaries and show no limitations in their songwriting. If you want to check out a more detailed review on the album, you can find it here on Banger TV if you're interested in getting a more detailed review of Sky Void of Stars. Thank you so much to everyone who watched our reviews this year and continues to support the channel, whether it be on YouTube or on our Patreon campaign. I can't wait to talk about some more progressive metal in 2024. And until then, guys, cheers, happy holidays, and go listen to Sky Void of Stars by Catatonia.
Hey, Bradley Zorgdrager here, and based on the fact that you've seen me like on one video this year, you could probably deduce that my year has been quite crazy. I started my death metal plushie company, Brutal Buddies. Follow it everywhere. There's going to be a lot more coming, and I've just been managing a lot of bands. Speaking of that, a lot of my favorite albums of the year are albums I worked on, but I can't pick that because that's bias, and bias is not journalistic. But I'm going to mention them anyway, because otherwise you're going to be wondering what I'm talking about. You know, so I worked on Signs of the Swarm, Amongst the Low and Empty, which came out earlier this year on Century Media. Of Sulfur, The Burden of Faith, came out earlier this year on Century Media. And then I don't manage them, but I work for Carnifex, and their album Necromantium is the best thing that they've done in their entire career. Anyway, speaking of, those I guess are like runner-up. Now you're going to want to hear what my favorite album of the year. If I had some runners up, I would say probably Judiciary, Flesh and Blood, Flesh plus Blood. It's like they come from the hardcore scene, and they got a lot of like groove metal and some death metal leanings, and it's a lot of fun. Probably Entheos, Time Will Take Us All. It's death metal, progressive. The whole album is a flowing one song. It's got progressive elements. It's got, touches on some of the catchier sides of, maybe some deathcore, maybe some tech death, maybe some prog metal, it's great. My number one album this year is from a band I just saw the other day. They absolutely killed it. It's Terracite by Cattle Decapitation. Cattle Decapitation have been on an absolute tear. I mean, arguably for their entire existence of a band, but when drummer Dave McGraw came in on the Harvest Floor, it's just been relentless and ridiculous. They've been reinventing themselves and like putting things into the overall genre that kind of defy characterization, like the kind of goblin pitched singing, clean vocals, if you will, clean relative to the insane growls and screeches that Travis Ryan is capable of. And this album has some of all of that. They came from grindcore. There are grinding sections. The technical riffing is awesome, but they also have no problem kind of peeling it back. There's a solo in the one song that's like super clean. As far as like the black and more atmospheric and catchier elements, this album really helps contextualize what they did on their last album, Death Atlas, and it gave me a new appreciation for that. Even the parts that didn't resonate with me so much when it first came out, I listened to this album immediately after listening to Terracite, and it just makes it all make sense. And yeah, it's got some of the fastest, most blazing, most aggressive death metal grind-leaning riffs that you can expect from the band, but then it ends with Just Another Body, which if you thought the goblin vocals were too melodic, too close to singing, I warn you, you will not be pleased with how they end this album. But it overall expands the world, albeit a world that I'm sure is ending. Humanity is a parasite. Death Atlas, the world's about to end. We're all terrible. But hey, at least it sounds good.
Hey there, Banger fans. Sam Astaroth here, and my favorite album of 2023 is none other than the enigmatic Tasmanian Devil, Kim Dracula, with their first full-length album, A Gradual Decline in Morale, released back in July 14th through Order of the Snake. Kim Dracula is a forward-thinking, innovative, theatrical, wild, extremely diverse, and creative vocalist and multi-instrumentalist. If you listen to the full album, you'll notice that Kim's vocal range and songwriting capabilities are as vast as artists like Kyo from Durham Gray, to Busta Rhymes, to My Chemical Romance, to Dying Fetus, to Red Hot Chili Peppers, to Marilyn Manson, to Jonathan Davis, to David Bowie, to Deftones, to Panic at the Disco, to Judas Priest, to Cradle of Filth, to Mike Patton. There is even a really cool cover of Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Every single song on the album is composed of multiple spastic genre switch-ups. Like, Kim will put a total 180 on you when you least expect it, but it's all done very cleverly and tastefully. The album combines everything from pop to black metal to scream rap to thrash metal to EDM to alternative rock to deathcore to slap bass funk to satire to comedy to cocktail lounge jazz, even Deadpool-style fourth wall breaks at times. And, Kim Dracula even makes fun of him sometimes, like Eminem does. The album is an absolute journey from start to finish. A Gradual Decline in Morale is a 20-track, 1 hour long, true, authentic expression of what happens when you flex every musical muscle you have into your artistic expression. Kim does all the vocals, plays guitar, bass, drums, and even a saxophone. If you haven't heard of Kim, they have been raising hell for the last 3 years straight. Their first blew up on TikTok from Lady Gaga's Paparazzi cover, then went on to dropping more solo to collab tracks with the likes of Ice Peak, Korn, Sauce Moolah, Left to Suffer, Tech Nine, and the Gran Turismo track. They just finished their tour with Avenged Sevenfold and Falling in Reverse, and I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us in 2024.
What's up, everyone? Riley here, and I'm going to talk about my favorite release for this year of 2023, except first, I'm going to give you a couple honorable mentions because those are important to me. So I have Hail Conjurer. This is a one-man Finnish black metal project. If you're familiar with the band Hooded Menace, he is the vocalist in said band. It was just a very evil, very solid release, and I love that type of thing. Then I've got Moonlight Sorcery. This is also another Finnish black metal band, except this one has some cleaner production on it and some symphonics. So if that's your type of thing, make sure to check that out. And then, of course, we had a killer year for death metal. We had bands drop stuff like Cattle Decapitation, Dying Fetus, Suffocation, Cannibal Corpse, Autopsy, Cryptopsy, everybody. And they were all really solid albums, so that made me very happy. But my favorite release of 2023 has to be Fluisterarse's second EP that came out in September. It was a follow-up part 2 to the first EP that they released back in March, and it was just so perfect. They go back and forth between this really lenient, atmospheric, pretty melodic black metal and this more raw and aggressive sound. And this album and the first EP they put out back in March are definitely the dirtiest things they've put out so far, and I'm loving the contrast. I familiarized myself with them when they released Bloom back in 2021, and like I said, that one was really soft and really sweet, and they just have this balance between this dirty, gritty, and hazy sound with that mystic, enchanting, melodic, and almost bizarre level of harmonies. The production is great. The drums are really impactful and creative, which is nice because on previous releases, they've been a lot more simplistic. The vocals are high and they harness that goblin sound and they're perfectly placed, and it all comes together with a fucking whip and a sparkle. It's like the balance of that tightrope between vile rot and beauty, and that is my favorite type of anything that I could ever ask for. And they put it into a 2-song EP, and they did it so well.
What's going on, Banger TV? I am back with my favorite segment of this year. This is my contribution album of the year 2023 edition. We're gonna go right to it. My number one album this year was Death Chant Thrones. Maybe you saw it coming, maybe you didn't. That album absolutely floored me from, let's say, the first side. Canyon Thrones, Mirror, Mother Mary. Mother Mary was something that they have never done before. And it really explored some of their more psychedelia aspects of Death Chant. And then the B-side was Chariot, Hoax, Earth, and Tomb. Earth was also very similar to Mother Mary, exploring that psychedelia that they've never done before. And Hoax had was my favorite song this year off that record because it had the second guitarist Doug. It was mainly him, and I thought it absolutely blew me away. Yeah, I'm looking down because I wrote notes. I don't have paper, but I have lots of record inner sleeves, and those work just as well. So I wrote 19 records. So let's talk about these 19 records real quick. But again, Death Chant Thrones is sort of a tie between Death Chant and Blood Ceremony, The Old Ways Remain. I found The Old Ways Remain was very, it was like a summertime record, spring, summer, and I thought that was great. But then once Death Chant Thrones came out, I was just sort of hooked completely, could not stop listening to it, still listening to it to this day. It just has everything. It has like the Death Chant that we know and love, but it also is exploring stuff that they haven't done before, and I would love a record of them just exploring, because that would be really amazing. You know, it hit everything for me. Wanted me to start bar fights, wanted me to run down the road, you name it. Let's go down this list of 19 records. Number 1, Death Chant Thrones, obvious. Number 2, it's a hard one as well. Blood Ceremony, The Old Ways Remain. Ball, Midnight Heat, those might be the sleaziest rockers in the world. Smoky Mirror, that's self-titled, right there. Church of Misery, Born Under a Mad Sign, right there. Fairy Ring, Weary Traveler. Blue Rumble, Blue Lightning EP, which is right behind me there. Uncle Acid, Slaughter on First Ave. That is the first ever live album by Uncle Acid, and that is definitely my favorite live album this year. It sounds absolutely unbelievable. Westing Future, Runaway, self-titled, Turn It, it's right there. That thing is absolutely unbelievable. Members of Shooting Guns, which is a Saskatchewan heavy psych band, all instrumental, very, very wild. Volume, Requesting Permission to Land, that is this blue cover right here. That is another album that came out over 20 years ago that is finally getting the recognition it deserves. Luger, Revelations of a Sacred Skull, that's right there. Love Gang, Mean Streak, Acid King, Beyond Vision, Sun Below, Sun Below and Earth Altar, Inner Terra Solis, which is right there. Mooch, Wherever It Goes, best band name of all time. Danova, Nothing But Nothing. Adina Gardens, Dens, and Novadol, Denaturing, which is down there. I do have the majority of these records on vinyl, but this is everything that I grabbed behind me here because, you know, rock and roll, right? Thank you guys so much. I'm excited for 2024. It's already off to an amazing start for releases that are coming out. Boogie On, check out Fuzzed and Buzzed. We got lots of stuff coming out next year. Rock and roll.
Okay, before we jump into this clip, I have to preface this. I'm really interested in cult history, and I've read several books about cult history and watched a lot of documentaries. Mansion is super intriguing to me because not only are they musically kick-ass, but the entire band is based on the Finnish Christian cult of Cartanoism. So rather than interview them for my fanzine, I decided to actually write an essay on Cartanoism and put it in my fanzine because English language information on that cult is next to impossible to find. Anyway, let's get back to Mansion, whose disturbing solemn songs evoke the Black, Jex Thoth, Black Hole, and Sabbath Assembly. The band deeply commits to their theme as vocalist Alma preaches hellfire with her Mansionites clad in black robes. With their second studio album, Second Death, which was self-released on January 13th, 2023, the band has released a masterpiece. Hypnotic and dark, the band utilizes ample dictatorial chanting amidst richly layered crashing instrumentation. Musically slow and deliberate, and firmly entrenched in the Italian occult doom lineage that emphasizes agonizing slow tension over musical busyness, Mansion specializes in cinematic landscapes that drag listeners directly into the hell of belonging to the cult of Cartanoism. As a result, Second Death is the strongest and by far the most disturbing metal album of 2023.
Howdy banger pals, it's that time of year. Yes, it is album of the year time. As always, I've got my runner-up awards. My first award is the Whoopsie Award because it's an album that I didn't include in Metal Monthly, but oh boy, it's phenomenal. So whoopsie, it's Thanafaxath, Hive Mind Narcosis, came out on Dark Descent Records. My What's Your Name, What's Your Number Girl Award for Best Album Cover of the Year that also has to be a phenomenal album is Ulther's Helionomicon / the other one. It's a double album, but they released it separately. You know what I mean. Phenomenal album cover, although special notice also goes to Smolder's album and Wretched Fate, 2 other phenomenal album covers this year, and also phenomenal albums, of course. My Palette Cleanse of the Year award for best, heavy metal album goes to Shadows Out for Blood on Peculiarly Sentient Rune Laboratories, a great heavy metal record that's just weird enough to get that Sentient Rune stamp. Great surprise, really came out of left field, and just I've been listening to it all year, so easy inclusion. But my full stop, just album of the year has been staring at you in your dumb face this whole time, sucker. It's Moonlight Sorcery, Horned Lord of the Thorned Castle. Oh boy, that's fun to say. On avant-garde music, what can I say? A great fusion of black metal and power metal that I didn't know I needed in my life, and now that it's there, I don't ever want it to go away. I love it. It's fun, it's majestic, it's black metal, it's power metal. It's my favorite things all smushed together, and I hope you've been enjoying it as much as I have. Whew, whew. Oh, I'm back from the Banger Bar. It's I had to run to get there and back in time. So that's been the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments what your picks for albums of the year are. We know what the overall consensus was, but we recognize your names down there. We're curious about individuals. What do you got? Let us know. What are you looking forward to in 2024? I'll see you in 2024 off the hop with Metal Monthly. And until then, just have a fun, happy, safe holiday season. Bye.